What's up, Strike Team, and welcome back to another episode of Strike Team Official. And today we're going to talk about a recent viral video that made the rounds on Instagram and got a lot of hate from the martial art community that I think was extremely unjustified. And I can speak on this particularly because I was one of those people who originally was hating on it. And it wasn't until a fellow martial artist made his own comments that kind of opened my mind and recognized that not just was I being too harsh, but I was kind of being a hypocrite. I have taught women self-defense. I knew what was going on in this video, but my fight mindset and my ego wouldn't let me actually look at the video for what it really was. And for that reason, I'm going to talk to you guys about it today. We're going to look at it and understand how this mindset of looking at online videos, not just is it incorrect, but it can also be very detrimental to certain people's training and martial arts practice. Okay, so first, let's take a look at this video and see what everyone was making fun of.
Clear! Shoot! Sunasa! Stop, stay back! Clear! Shoot! Sunasa! Stop, stay back! Clear! Shoot! Sunasa! Stop, stay back!
Okay, so what are we actually looking at in this video? We have an older lady. She seems to be somewhat of a more advanced belt, judging by it's black with a red stripe. I don't actually know what system this is, so I don't know how high she is, but she seems to be pretty high up. And she's doing a basic self-defense technique. Now, does she look amazing? No. But some of the comments that came about from this video, I think, were extremely, extremely harsh. So let me just show you a few of them, okay? One of them, it isn't safe or moral to take this lady's money and duping her into believing she has any chance to physically defend herself. Another one, it's embarrassing these people are paying people to teach them this and it will not work. WTF, the worst part is when you believe that blank works and starts fighting. And then one that just calls it bullshito. Okay, now, are any of these comments fair? I'm going to be honest. I don't think any of those are legitimately fair comments. We're going to take about this. These comments are broken into two categories. One saying the technique won't work, and one about her being confident in her fighting ability when she shouldn't be. So we're going to tackle both of those two things in two different sections. But first, let's go over the actual self-defense technique she's trying to do. So the self-defense technique is really simple. She is clearing the hands, okay? So someone's coming at her to grab her. She is clearing the hands. Then she is throwing a kick to the groin and then shooting out two palm strikes to the person's face. Now, while she's doing the technique, she's yelling out words. It sounds like she's going clear, I think shoot, shukasa, and stop, stay back. Now, I don't know what shoot and shukasa mean. I'm not even going to pretend like I know what that is. But I do know what clear and stop, stay back means. Now, I actually worked for a company that taught women self-defense for about a year. And I learned a lot. And one of the things that I recognize she is doing is she is yelling verbal commands that are helping her remember the techniques while she's under attack. So when she's yelling clear, stop, shakwasa, or whatever those two in the middle are, and then stop, stay back, those are a mixture of verbal cues to help her remember what she's doing and cues so that other people watching this attack take place know that she's in danger. We have to recognize that this is not a fight the way we think of fighting. And I think that's one of the reasons you get so much hate from the online community. They're looking at this from the position of someone who is trained to fight or believes they're training to actually fight, other trained people. She's looking at this from the thought process of all I want to do is survive. This is self-defense. If some dude is reaching out, she's clearing the hands, kicking him in the groin, and throwing out two open palm strikes. That makes perfect sense. She's saying stop, stay back, because if I'm an onlooker and I'm looking over and I see a woman yelling stop, stay back at a guy, I'm now paying attention. Now, maybe I'm not going to intervene. Maybe I will. Depends on the situation. But now that guy recognizes that everyone's staring at him while he is in an altercation with a female. That is not a situation most guys want to be in, because there is no win for that guy. Now, he could just be an a-hole, but in many situations, like, what is that guy going to do? He's like, oh, I have all these guys staring at me. This girl's putting up a fight. Maybe I just walk away. Maybe I just leave. And we have to recognize that when you are dealing with self-defense and not fighting, the goal isn't to win by beating up the opponent or knocking out the opponent or anything like that. The goal is simply to survive the altercation. Now, I actually talked about these techniques with a couple other martial artist friends who had commented on this video. And I pointed out to them, like, dude, this works. And they're like, no, this doesn't work. It's so bad. Like, this would never work if you actually did it. And that really was crazy to me, because we can say that her technique may not be on a level you find pleasing, okay? But her actual strategy is absolutely correct. Okay, so I'm at home. I don't have a partner with me right now, so use your imagination. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take her techniques and I'm going to do them in such a way that a combat athlete might want to do them. Okay, so let's say I'm in a Muay Thai fight and my opponent is walking forward at me with his hands up, kind of like a long or probing guard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to swim between his guard. Okay, that is just clearing his hands. He'd be coming out with punches. Maybe I'm the one doing the long guard. I catch a punch and I swim through his hands. Okay, that is no different than an untrained or maybe a drunk person coming at me like that. Okay, and I'm like, clear the hands. Oops. And I'm like, clear. It's the same technique for someone who maybe isn't going to spend the amount of time a professional athlete is going to spend learning. Okay, remember, this is self-defense. A lot of people who are going to self-defense classes aren't trying to be pro athletes or pro martial artists. They just want to get enough knowledge to be able to possibly defend themselves. Okay, so person comes, clear the hands. Muay Thai fight, I'm swimming. I push him back, I throw a teep. Okay, in her case, she throws a shot to the nuts. We all know, while maybe it's a little exaggerated how effective it is, it does work, it does cause pain. Okay? Hit him in the nuts. And then I'm like, stop, stay back. 1, 2. Okay? Muay Thai version, clear their hands, teep them, go in. 1, 2. It's the same thing, except instead of throwing a 1, 2, she's going open hand, open hand. Now remember, she's thinking self-defense. Maybe they're worried about her hurting her fist on someone's head. Or because maybe they're not willing, or the school is catering to someone who maybe isn't willing to become a pro fighter, like a lot of people aren't when they're looking for self-defense. Maybe this person is thinking, well, learning to throw a jab cross with good technique takes a long time. It's also something that if you're in panic mode and you don't have the mindset of a fighter, that maybe you're gonna suck at throwing that 1, 2 in the middle of an actual fight situation. But do you know what isn't hard to throw? It is not hard to put your hands in, almost like you're in a flinch position, like, oh crap, and just shoot forward. Just shooting forward. That's easy. That's almost instinctual. You don't have to worry about, am I holding my fists right or doing it 100% properly? You're just shooting forward. Okay, and again, if you blast somebody in the nose with an open palm, it won't knock them out, but it may stun them, it may water their eyes. Even if the guy who's attacking her only goes, oh, crap, that's it. It doesn't even seriously hurt him. It just backs him up and makes him go, oh, crap. And then someone who hears her go, stop, stay back, starts looking and intervenes. This is self-defense. That means she won. Or, better yet, guy goes, oh, crap, after getting hit in the nose, and she turns around and runs away. This is self-defense. Her job isn't to win the fight, it's to get away. And that is how we have to look at these kinds of techniques. So calling this kind of technique bullshido is absolutely ridiculous. The strategy works. The strategy works in the highest levels of professional fighting. You're just not looking at a professional fighter. And what's worse is she probably actually understands it enough to make it work in certain situations if she's being attacked in the street. Now, will she win a street fight with it? Probably not. But again, that's not the point. And that's actually a very important thing to think about when you look at these comments. When people are saying things like, it will not work, it will work. When people are saying that, oh, how dare you make this girl think she could defend herself, in the situation and in the context in which she's looking to defend herself, it could very well actually help her. And when you look at this comment here, the one about WTF, the worst part is when you believe that SHIT works and starts fighting, is extremely out of left field for what this woman's trying to do. We have to remember that she is learning a self-defense art. It is very clear by the vocal commands that this is not a fighting art. And now, I'm not at this particular dojo or martial arts school, but in my experience, when you're teaching a self-defense art and you're teaching it with the vocal and voice commands, you are not training people to think they're assassins. You're training people to understand that they are learning just enough to get away and hopefully protect themselves. These are not the kinds of individuals who are going to be looking for a fight. She's not going to take this knowledge and be thinking, I can beat people up now. That is not the thought process that this kind of training instills in its students. And so we should not be putting the same kind of emphasis on fighting ability as, say, even I do when I talk about, say, a karate school that's teaching the maybe not the most practical stuff, but telling their students they're absolute assassins because they're teaching something different. You want to judge everything in the context of how it's being presented. It looks to me like it is being presented to her just as a way to help her survive a dangerous encounter, not in a way where she thinks she's going to be an assassin. But the other point I want to talk about is that this does instill and create confidence in that woman. And that is extremely important, and why I think some of these comments are detrimental in a way that maybe we're not even thinking about. Okay, so when I was working in the women's self-defense company, the owner would actually go out to prisons and he would talk to inmates who had victimized and abused mostly women. And he would ask them, what are the traits of the women that like you're looking to victimize? How do you choose your prey? And there are many different things that they would respond with, but one of the big ones was a lack of confidence and someone who was meek, someone who looked like they weren't willing to fight back. And one thing about women's self-defense classes, even ones that are teaching things that I do think are kind of total BS, they are instilling a confidence in that woman so she believes she can fight back. And while that may sound irresponsible, when you're talking about teaching someone self-defense in a way where they're not thinking they can fight, this is the kind of person who maybe has been victimized in the past or is worried about victimization. They're not out here. It's not like someone who took boxing for 6 months thinks they can box and can beat people up. This is someone who is only looking to protect themselves, not start fights. Well, that confidence will allow them the ability to strongly say no to a man who's trying to assault her. Or as a man is pushing and pressing against her boundaries, to stand up and strongly, let that man know, hey, you're invading my space. And if need be, now, maybe not great, maybe hit him in the nose and call for help. Okay, this is a better situation than her not being able to do anything at all or not having the confidence to even attempt to verbally shut it down. Most, 80%, I believe is the number, of self-defense is done before a physical altercation. 80%. So as we talk about the importance of being able to throw a 1-2 cross down the middle, having confidence and the ability to express, yo, I'm not the right person for this, is much more valuable than being able to throw a proper 1-2 punch. And so instilling these emotions within the women who are learning these things so they can verbally and physically express confidence and create almost a bubble of, hey, I'm not a victim, is extremely valuable. So when we are looking at these videos online, it is one thing when you're looking at a karate school that is telling people, you know, we're teaching you how to be, you know, not just, oh, runaway self-defense, but like, you're going to really know how to really hurt people and, you know, be a master, that kind of stuff. I understand if you want to like get at that a little bit, but if you're talking about someone who's just teaching women enough to say, hey, get away from me and run or call for help, like, let's really think about the context before we try and compare her to someone who's training to be an actual fighter or, you know, assassin, you know, because she's obviously not. And again, it's very clear from the fact that she's using verbal cues. She's saying, you know, stop as she's hitting. It's very clear that she's not learning to fight the way you learn to fight in many karate styles or Muay Thai styles or whatever. She's there to learn how to just defend herself. And so, again, in context, I don't see anything wrong with what that lady did. A matter of fact, I think our comments, if they're hurting her confidence and other women in there, when they're actually learning something that's strategically correct, is a big problem. We need to check ourselves. I needed to check myself. Luckily, I didn't comment, but I thought about it. And I talked crap about it to my friends in our private DMs until someone checked me. And then I was like, dude, you've taught self-defense. You know this and you know better. And I had to get checked myself. So maybe we all need to look in the mirror and check ourselves every once in a while and recognize when we're getting a little too egotistical with our martial arts. All right. I think that's all that I had to say. I appreciate you if you listened all the way through. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell for future videos, and I will see you next time. Peace.